The three adventurers, Sarah, Tom, and Jack, were hiking through the haunted forest when they stumbled upon an old, leather-bound book. Its spine was cracked and its pages were yellowed with age. They couldn't resist the temptation to take a closer look. As they flipped through the pages, they noticed that the text was written in a language they couldn't understand. But something about the book's eerie aura drew them in. Sarah suggested they take the book back to their cabin to investigate further. That night, they gathered around the fireplace and began to read the book. As they read the strange words aloud, a chill ran down their spines suddenly. The pages began to glow, and the room was filled with a ghostly aura. They knew they had uncovered something sinister, and they couldn't turn back now. As Sarah, Tom, and Jack continued to read the book, the ghostly aura in the room grew stronger. They felt as though they were being watched by an unseen force and could hear whispered voices in the darkness. Despite their fear, they couldn't stop reading. The text was like a puzzle, and they were determined to solve it. But the more they read, the more they realized that they had uncovered something beyond their understanding. As the night wore on, the ghostly apparitions grew more intense. They could feel a presence in the room, and the pages of the book began to turn on their own. The adventurers knew they had made a grave mistake, but it was too late to turn back now. The next morning, Sarah, Tom, and Jack woke up feeling different. They couldn't explain it, but something had changed. They felt as though they weren't in control of their own bodies. As the day wore on, they began to realize that they had been possessed by the spirits that were summoned by the book. They struggled to maintain control over their own actions, and felt as though they were being pulled in different directions. The possessed adventurers knew they had to find a way to break the curse, but they didn't know how. They were trapped in a nightmare, and the only way out was to confront the spirits that had possessed them. The possessed adventurers continued to struggle with the spirits that had taken over their bodies. They knew they had to find a way to break the curse before it was too late. As they ventured out into the forest, they noticed that other travelers were experiencing the same ghostly phenomena that they had encountered. The possessed adventurers realized that the spirits had spread beyond just them and were now haunting the entire forest. They knew they had to put an end to the haunting and find a way to banish the spirits back to where they came from. But as they delved deeper into the forest, they realized that the spirits were more powerful than they had ever imagined. The possessed adventurers sought help from a group of paranormal investigators who had experience with exorcisms. The investigators arrived at the cabin and began to prepare for the ritual. As the exorcism began, the possessed adventurers felt as though they were being torn apart from the inside out. The spirits fought back with all their might, but the investigators were determined to banish them back to where they came from. The exorcism was intense, and it seemed as though it would never end. But finally, the spirits were banished back to the other side, and the possessed adventurers were freed from their grasp. They were relieved that their nightmare was over, but they knew that they could never forget what they had experienced. The possessed adventurers and the paranormal investigators knew that their work wasn't done yet. They had to confront the source of the haunting and put an end to it once and for all. As they journeyed deeper into the forest, they could feel the spirit's presence growing stronger. They knew that they were close to the source, and they had to act fast. Finally, they reached the heart of the forest, where they found the book that had caused all the chaos. They knew they had to destroy it. But as they tried to do so, the spirits fought back with all their might. It was a fierce battle, but in the end the book was destroyed, and the spirits were banished for good. After the final showdown, the haunted forest was quiet once again. Sarah, Tom, and Jack couldn't help but feel relieved that the ordeal was finally over, but the experience had left its mark on them. They knew that they could never forget what they had experienced, and that they had been lucky to survive. They also knew that they had to warn others of the dangers that lurked in the world. As they left the forest, they made a vow to themselves to never underestimate the power of the supernatural. They knew that they had been given a second chance, and they couldn't let it go to waste. They would continue to explore the unknown, but they would do so with caution and respect for the four.